Hi everyone and welcome to Creative Cakes by Sharon. Today I'm going to show you how I made this super cool Avengers themed kids cake. It features the symbols of Captain America, the Incredible Hulk, the Iron Man, the Black Widow and Thor. It's pretty simple, so let's get started. The first thing I need to do is choose which character I'm going to work on first, and I've started off with green, so we're going to work on creating the Incredible Hulk side. So all I need to do is roll out my green fondant to about 2 to 3 millimeters thick and cut off 3 of the edges so they're nice and square. I have here a 8-inch square cake which I've already ganached and it's ready for me to decorate. Now before I place the fondant onto the cake, I need to moisten one side of my cake with a little bit of water and then carefully lift up my fondant and position it onto the cake. Once the fondant is on the cake, I can adjust the bottom if need be to make sure it's nice and straight, and then using a cake smoother, just going to give it a little bit of a smooth over and trim off the top and sides with an x-acto blade to get a nice square finish. Now it's just a matter of repeating the same process for the remaining 3 sides, covering one side with black fondant, one with red and one with blue. Now there are other Avengers characters, however the ones featured on this cake were specifically requested by the birthday boy himself. Of course you can always use different logos to match your favourite characters. An important tip to remember is when you're covering one side, you want to make sure that you moisten the adjacent side just at the edge of the fondant so that both sides of the fondant will stick together, and once you've trimmed it off, just make sure to blend or push together the sides of the fondant to get a nice even edge. Now for the top, I've chosen to cover it in a nice purple fondant, so I need to roll out a nice big square that's going to cover the entire top of the cake. And when I brush my water onto the cake, I'm going to make sure that I moisten the top edges of the 4 sides of fondant. Simply lay the fondant over the top of the cake, pressing down on the 4 sides to get a nice join, and then trim off the excess. Once again, using the cake smoother, I'm going to gently massage the fondant into the gaps, smoothing over all of the edges once more before getting ready to work on the logos. Now here are the logos I'll be using today, and you can get a copy of this template in the description box below. So to start with, for Captain America, I'm going to need 4 round circle cutters as well as a star cutter. So to start with, I've rolled out some white fondant and I'm going to cut out my star. Then once I've cut out my first circle out of some blue fondant, I'm going to carefully adhere the star on top of the blue with a little bit of water. Then following the colours on the template, I'm going to pop my blue circle onto some red fondant and cut out the circle. Then pop it onto some white fondant, cut out the circle again. And finally doing the same with the red fondant. Then I can stick my logo onto the blue side of my cake. Next I'm going to start working on the Iron Man, and I'm going to cut around the stencil on some yellow fondant. Then as you can see here, I've now cut out the eye section of the template, and I'm just going to roll some white fondant and fill it into the gaps to create the eyes. And then with a long snake of red fondant, I'm going to create the mouth. Then using either the back of a paintbrush or a modelling tool, I'm going to make some indentations into the mask to give it a bit more dimension. Once I've framed the eyes with a long piece of red fondant, I can stick the mask onto the red side of the cake. Now for the Black Widow's logo. What I have here is a white piece of fondant onto which I've just simply placed the logo on top, and all I need to do is cut around each of the pieces and stick it onto the black side of the cake. The last logo or face I need to create for my Avengers cake is of course the Incredible Hulk, so I'm just cutting out the hair section of the template onto some black fondant and I'll stick it onto the cake. Then to create the mouth, I'm going to cut around the template on some black fondant and then cut the teeth section out of the template and then cut this out of some white fondant and stick it onto my black fondant. Then using a black edible marker, I'm going to use the template as a guide and draw in the teeth. Now before I stick the mouth on, I'm just going to use my template as a guide and draw on the eyes and the nose. It doesn't have to be exact, you just need to get a rough image. Once I've stuck the mouth on, I can finish off the rest of the Incredible Hulk's face. The very last thing I need to work on is Thor's hammer, and I've got some Rice Krispy treats here and I'm going to cut out 2 rectangles to stick together for the top part of the hammer and then another rectangle for the handle. I've got a long wooden skewer which I'm going to insert straight through the centre of the handle. I'm going to cover the top part of the hammer in some black fondant and use some brown fondant with a bit of a marbled effect for the handle. Once I've added a few more details including the strap, I'm going to finish off the hammer with some edible silver paint. And here it is guys, this very effective yet simple Avengers cake. I can tell you it was incredibly popular and definitely the highlight of the party for the kids. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, don't forget to let me know by giving it a like. I always love hearing your comments and suggestions, so don't forget to drop me a line in the comment section below, or you can connect with me on Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram and Twitter. If you're not already a subscriber, make sure you click on the subscribe button. Be sure to also check out last week's tutorial. I look forward to you tuning in next time, and as always, thanks for watching.